In the history of this channel, we have had the opportunity to feature many spectacular watches spanning a variety of different price points. However, the title of the first watch to ever make an appearance on this channel was and forever will be with the Orient Bambino. This affordable enthusiast favorite has been a key fixture within the watch collecting discourse for over a decade, now seeing multiple generations and versions. In 2024, though, Orient unveiled its latest big release under the model family name, fusing two ideas into a singular package that we have yet to see intertwined: a Small Seconds Bambino and a 38mm case. In this video, we look at these four new references, share what is new, and close with some of my final thoughts. The Orient Watch Company's story officially began in 1950, though it can trace its roots back to a small watch and clock wholesale shop founded in 1901 in Tokyo, Japan. Today, Orient operates as part of the Seiko Epson Corporation, and while there is some connection between Seiko and Orient, they do operate rather independently from one another. The Bambino has existed for over a decade and is arguably the most responsible watch for Orient's increasing position among enthusiasts in recent years, myself included in that as well. The Bambino range spans a series of generations and versions, which can be confusing to keep up with, each serving up a slightly altered take on a consistent core premise of classical styling. Concepts such as Roman numerals, small seconds, linear markings, Arabic numerals have seen their fair share of the spotlight over the years, which would consistently call upon a 40.5mm case. The Bambino has been a model of consistency despite its variations, but in 2022, a huge introduction to the line took place with the release of the 38mm. This was an instant hit, delivering on many requests for a smaller version that could more appropriately align with the elegant undertones of the design. As a follow-up, Orient has decided to infuse a few past concepts into a 38mm package. Take the dial presentation of the Generation 2 version 2, the configuration that I will add was the first to appear on this channel in a watch that I personally owned, and then combine it with the Small Seconds Bambino to create one of the most compelling pieces that the brand has ever made to this point. This release includes 4 different variations to choose from, including a cream, a silver, and black dial in traditional stainless steel, and a gold tone PVD case option as well. Looking closer at the case dimensions, the model measures more precisely at 38.4mm in diameter, 12mm in thickness given the dome mineral glass, and a lug-to-lug of a compact 44mm. On the wrist, these watches wear nearly identical compared to the traditional 38mm Bambinos with a slightly thinner case. Wearing rather true to size, these balance the large dial opening with a lug-to-lug that is much shorter than average for a 38mm diameter watch. If you recall, many of the 40.5mm Bambinos were paired with an odd number lug width. That has changed with the 38s, as these measure to a much more versatile 20mm. The leather strap, presumably made from cowhide, is given an alligator embossed texture to emulate the high-end leather type. This is a route chosen because of cost for one and navigating the laws and regulations around importing exotic hides. The strap doesn't feature quick release on the back and is okay in practice. That said, it is certainly serviceable once you break it in, tapering down to a signed pin buckle. The case finishing is simple across the board, being predominantly polished, with a large push-pull crown sitting at the 3 o'clock position, enabling straightforward operation, and helping register that 30 meters of water resistance rating. Shifting over to the front of the watch, we have a dome mineral glass that evokes the charm of vintage acrylic glass, giving a clean view of the dial underneath. As discussed, there have been many different dial designs from the Bambino over the years, with this following the aesthetic guidelines of the Bambino Generation 2 version 2 while incorporating the Small Seconds function. Each of the dials comes with a subtle brush style finish with minimal reflections to the backdrop in the already mentioned black, cream, and ivory, and then the silver. The layout is matched across the entire line, starting with a railway-esque style minute track at the outskirts with a simple line linear marking for every minute. Inside is another more detailed track used for determining more precise moments in time, which serves more as a superficial point than a functional one. Arabic numerals rest at the every 5 minutes, matching the colors of the surrounding scales. The raised elements of the dial are one of the most notable callbacks to the Gen 2 V2, with Roman numerals that complement the broader case material color. The Romans sit in a conventional fashion at every hour apart from 3, where a faceted framed aperture gives way to the date disc, being the sole interruption to symmetry on this dial, a principle that seems of importance given the use of the watchmaker's 4, I might add. Underneath the 12 is the Orient logo, which takes up its fair share of real estate, though it is perfectly mirrored by the concentrically lined Small Seconds at 6. The central handset is of the Dauphine variety with a line ridge running the length, and the Small Seconds hand goes for a simplified approach. The color of the hands will depend on the dial and case configuration. The silver and cream stainless steel versions opt for synthetically blued hands that look nearly as good as tempered blued hands. The gold PVD case has gold tone hands to match, and the black dial has silver hands at center for easier legibility with a touch of blue for the small seconds, which of the four throws in the most tasteful oddities to the equation. At the sub $300 price range, it is hard enough just to get any run-of-the-mill mechanical caliber. Orient takes it a step further though by utilizing its robust in-house movements. This is among the top reasons for Orient's ability to connect with enthusiasts, with the caliber called upon in this instance being the F6-222, a familiar movement that was and is used in other small seconds Bambinos. On the surface, the F6-222 is not much to look at, with simple industrial finish components with only a sign of decoration coming from the signed and partially hollowed out rotor. The remainder of the movement is simply all about the business, operating at 21,600 vibrations per hour or 3 Hz, like the other calibers in its class, features hacking and hand winding, hacking stop in the seconds when you pull the crown to the farthest position, and this one comes with a power reserve of approximately 40 hours. Orient's calibers have established stellar reputations and surprisingly outdo the quoted accuracy standard of 2 other notable mechanical options in the respective price range. The F6-222 is quoted to perform at plus 25 seconds to minus 25 seconds per day, whereas Miyota's standard 8 series is said to run between minus 20 to plus 40 seconds per day, and then the NH or the 4R calibers from Seiko are stated to operate between plus 45 seconds to minus 35 seconds per day. All of these movements run better than the proposed range. However, Orient has a tighter area of acceptability, and in the hundreds of watches that we've tested from Orient over the years, we find anecdotally that they do hold up to their claim. The Bambino is a watch that, unless you are deep into the weeds of watch collecting, you probably have never even heard of it. Orient's distribution on top of that is quite poor compared to that of its competitors, but that hasn't stopped the brand from selling them in droves over the past 12 years. For under $300, the standard of quality for a watch is a complicated one. As a brand, you have to develop something steady despite the limited cost restrictions to make any money. And in many of these cases, when the Bambino is being purchased, it is a piece that represents a person's first venture into the world of watch collecting. In other words, expectations are typically high in these scenarios, and this simple watch has to deliver in order to make this newfound hobby a lifelong pursuit. The Bambino in nearly every case though seems to be up for the task, being a gateway for countless collectors. Of course, this isn't the only type of person looking at the Bambino, as even for me today, I can't help but crack a smile when wearing one of these, and I can recall when getting a Bambino for the first time. But then looking closer at the new small seconds at 38mm, it brings forth some of the same pros and cons of previous Bambinos. The factory strap isn't great. Some of the design choices also might be cookie cutter for some. And the default use of a date probably is going to rub some people the wrong way who want more symmetry. In contrast to that though, the design is tastefully inoffensive, the case wearability matches the dial's elegance, and the movement on the inside is about all you can ask for a watch that costs about as much as a family's trip to the grocery store nowadays. To this point, I don't think there has been a more complete mechanical dress watch that can stack up with the Bambino for under $300. And these small seconds at 38mm might have only just widened the gap from the already trailing competition. But all right guys, that is my take here looking at these new Orient Bambino 38mm small seconds. What do you think of these watches? Have you seen these before? Have you been able to try one of these out? I know, again, distribution is not great on these, but if you own one of these, love to see some comments down below. If you're still on the fence about them, also, what would you like to see from Orient in the future? It seems like in the last few years, they've been listening a bit more about what people want from the Bambino lineup. So if you have some ideas about what you'd like to see, leave some comments. What do you think would be the perfect Bambino? If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Really do appreciate that. It does help out the channel. Also, be sure to check out TeddyBaldestar.com. TeddyBaldestar.com is an authorized dealer for over 30 brands. Every purchase from TeddyBaldestar.com comes with a full factory warranty, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support. And then in addition, how we're able to support all the content here, keep doing what we're doing, is through selling watches. So if you are in the market for a watch, we'd absolutely love to have your business. Let's keep doing what we're doing here. We love what we do. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.